Today we're talking about helping your twins form friendships with other children.
Welcome to the Dad's Guide to Twins podcast, the podcast that'll help you survive and thrive as a father of twins. Now, here's your host, the author of the book, The Dad's Guide to Twins, Joe Rawlinson.
Hey everybody, this is Joe Rawlinson. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. As always, you can find me on the web at dadsguidetotwins.com, where you'll find tons of resources to help you along your twin parenting journey. Today's show is brought to you by my website called twintshirtcompany.com, where you'll find tons of t-shirts designed specifically for us, parents of twins. We also have shirts for the twins, grandparents. Check them out at twintshirtcompany.com. When my girls were toddlers, I'd take them to the park and watch something kind of fascinating. We usually have lots of kids at the park, so while other kids would be running around, forming little groups, or taking turns on the swing, my girls would tend to just play with them together by themselves, playing on the jungle gym or building castles together in the sand pit. So, that was a sweet thing to watch, but it also made me think about, why aren't they making friends with other children? So here's the thing with twins. They, of course, come with a built-in best friend or a potential best friend. That's amazing, but it can also become comfortable for them. It creates this comfortable bubble that keeps them from developing friendships with other kids. My wife and I used to joke that our girls were set for life. They'd always have a playmate, always have someone who understood them, always have a backup plan with her sister. And while that's true, we realized that we also needed to learn how to help them form some friendships, how to be interesting, capable people on their own, not dependent on their twin. When our twins build friendships, it's a great thing to see as parents. So in order to do that, they need to develop some skills. And of course, there are some benefits of creating friendships and relationships outside of the twin bond. Each individual twin gets to develop a stronger individual identity and more diverse social skills. They learn to navigate different personalities, practice introducing themselves to other people, and discover that they can be valued for who they are individually and not just as, quote, the twins. When your twins start to create these relationships outside of their twin sibling relationship, it will kind of boost their confidence in social situations. They can practice different social roles. Sometimes they may be the leader. Sometimes they may be the follower. They can bring some new ideas and games home from their individual friendships. They learn that being apart from their twin doesn't mean being alone or unloved. And they develop some resilience for future separations. Maybe it's separation in school or different activities that they may have in the future. Before I share what worked for us, it helps to kind of understand why twins gravitate toward each other. It's not stubbornness or social anxiety. In fact, it's perfectly logical. If you think about it, your twins have shared everything from the very beginning. The same womb, the same nursery, the same developmental stages, same inside jokes. So when faced with a playground full of unfamiliar kids, retreating to each other makes complete sense. Your twins may share their own kind of unique language or gibberish. They have that long shared history, and so it's a very comfortable place. That may lead you to situations where you may have to deal with some more challenging aspects of relationships for your twins. When one twin is more social than the other, that can create some hiccups. So it's kind of the situation for us. One of our daughters made friends really easy, and the other struggled and would cry that nobody liked her, which, even though that's not true. Our instinct was to have the social twin help her sister. Well, this created some kind of dependency and prevented the quieter twin from developing her own skills. So instead, what we focused on was working with our quiet daughter separately. We practiced conversation starters. We talked about how to join a game that was already in progress. We built her confidence through practicing some role play, when there's no social pressure. I also had to accept that each of our girls is who they are. If one is more introverted and one is more extroverted, that's fine. That's just the way they are. The goal isn't to turn them into each other, turn one twin into exactly what her sister is. It's to give her the skills to make friends when she wants to, even if she'll always have a different social circle or a smaller social circle than her more extroverted sister. So this, if your kids are getting invited to different playdates, it might not always go well. There may be tears, protests. So think about starting smaller. So, one twin may help grandma make cookies in the kitchen while the other twin is in the family room doing something with you. Or situations where you're close, but not right on top of each other. So same house, different rooms. This can, build up that individual confidence. And then you can gradually start to increase the distance and duration your twins may be apart. You can acknowledge any feelings that they may be having. I know you miss your sister, but she's in the backyard with mom right now. You'll see her at lunchtime. Right now, you get special time with me. Keyword here is gradual. We don't want to force dramatic separations overnight, especially if your twins are anxious about that kind of thing. So look, some twin pairs are truly best friends. That's not really a problem to fix. The goal isn't to make them prefer other kids or to force them apart. It's to make sure that they have the skills to engage with others when needed. So at school, sports, eventually jobs and relationships. When your twins are very young, like a toddler stage, 18 months to 3 years old, they focus on parallel play. They may not even interact much with other people, but they may be in the same area as other children, just playing independently in parallel to each other. So you may have play groups where there's an emphasis on free play with the parents nearby. This may give your twins a chance to get comfortable to be around other kids without the pressure to engage. If you bring toys or activities to share, like bubbles, all the kids get really excited about that kind of stuff. As your kids get a little bit older, like preschool years, 3 to 5 years old, this is when outside friendships really start to matter. You can get more intentional about creating situations where each twin has an opportunity to meet different children. Think birthday parties, preschool friendships, neighborhood children. It becomes a little more important piece of the dynamic of friendship here. When you have your twins maybe going into different directions or different activities, it's a great opportunity for you to get together in the evening or at dinner time and talk about, who do they play with, who do they meet, and who's it fun to play with. As your children enter the early elementary years, 5 to 8 years old, you have to have decisions about, do they stay in the same classroom or are they separated? We found that when our girls were in separate classrooms, it created different social circles and forced our girls to make different friends, kind of stand on their own, which was ultimately beneficial for them breaking that dependency upon each other. You may also have after-school activities that meet their different interests. One of your kids may be interested in soccer, another in basketball or art or karate. So those different activities lead to different friend group opportunities that may not always be identical between the two twins. Now, as you interact with the adults that are also helping care for your children, so the caregivers at a daycare or teachers in preschool or in kindergarten, etc., communicate clearly with the teachers about your goals. Most educators are very happy to support twin development when the parents are specific about what they want. So you can ask for things from your teachers like you want them to intentionally pair the twins with different partners during activities so that they're not always together. You want to assign them to different small groups for projects, maybe seat them separately to encourage broader friendships. And teachers usually have ideas about how to do that in the classroom. So, it's a kind of a conversation back and forth between you and them about what ultimately, as a team, you think would work best for your twins in the classroom. Most twins develop healthy outside friendships with some parental encouragement, but sometimes you may need some backup. If you're really concerned about your kids not making friends, consider talking to your pediatrician if any of the following are true. If your twins can't separate without extreme distress beyond age 4, if neither twin shows any interest in other children, even in structured settings, if they have developed their own language that excludes typical speech, or if their bond seems to interfere with other developmental milestones. So sometimes things like anxiety, or if they're on the autism spectrum, or language delays show up as excessive twin dependence. A professional can help you figure out what's typical for your twin's behavior versus what may be something that requires some intervention. Always talk to your children's pediatrician about your twin's specific situation. This is where I have to remind myself regularly that the goal isn't to weaken the twin bond. My girls' relationship with each other is a gift. We want to nurture that. What we're trying to do is making sure that they can build other meaningful relationships as well. It's kind of an additive thing. So some days went great with our young daughters. We'd watch one of our girls happily playing with a neighborhood friend while the other one plays with a different friend. And I feel like they figured it out. On another day, they are clingy to each other and they don't want to be separated. And they'll ignore anybody else around them at the park or at the party or whatever. So this is normal. Social development isn't a straight line, especially for twins who have the comfort of a built-in companion. So be patient with yourself too. Managing twin social dynamics is generally more complex than parenting a singleton. Separate playdates mean double the scheduling, double the driving, double the mental energy. So just remember that you're investing in their long-term social health, not orchestrating perfect social opportunities every single day. My girls are older now, and I can see how some of these efforts we put in earlier have paid off. They still have an incredibly close twin bond. They share secrets, defend each other, prefer each other's company in certain situations. But they also have, independent social lives and different friends, which is great. They're still twins, but they're also individuals with their own relationships and social identities and friendships and confidence in navigating the world around them without always having to rely on their built-in backup system, their twin. That's the goal. You don't want separation, but you want expansion of their social skills and their relationships to prepare them for life, once they leave the nest. So what strategies have you seen work for your twins when it comes to making outside friendships? How have your twins been able to make those friendships with other children outside of your family circle? And I would love to hear what's worked for you. You can reach out to me. I am on Instagram or Twitter at TwinDadJoe, or you can always email me, joe@dadsguidetotwins.com, and I would love to hear from you. Again, today's show is brought to you by twint-shirtcompany.com. This is my online merch store where you can find tons of t-shirts designed specifically for families of twins. Twin dads, I've got lots of shirts for you. In fact, I have a whole bunch in my closet I love wearing, and I love to get comments about them when I'm out in public with my family. So check out twint-shirtcompany.com. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next time.